Mule deer, they're a totally different critter than whitetails. Whitetails, they evolved in a woodland setting. What do they rely upon? They rely a lot upon their ears and their sense of smell. They back that all up with their eyesight. But guaranteed, a whitetail's going to bust you every time with that sense of smell, hear you coming, and then verify it if he can see you. Most of the time, they don't even wait to see what's coming. Now, what do mule deer rely upon? Well, they rely upon their sense of smell. They can get you on that. They got great hearing, but they're really all about their eyes. They're kind of like the pronghorn antelope. They like to verify what's going on. And that's why a lot of times they'll give you that last over-the-shoulder look before they go over hill. They may hear something that's just out of place. They'll jump out of their bed, run up the hill, look back, and verify. They evolved in the open country. They want to see what's in the open country. Now, don't let that sense of smell fool you, though. If you don't have the wind in your favor, you're not going to get within rifle or archery range of any mule deer. What's their other advantage? They like to bed high. They like to be where they can see things. Again, going back to their eyes. They'll usually bed with the wind at their back, looking out over where danger might come. Wind at their back, hitting them in the back, they can smell if anything comes up behind them. Those big ears, they can hear if something's coming up behind them. And out in front, they've got the front row seat to any danger coming up the face of the mountain. You ready, Mark? I'm ready. Let's go see if we can find a mule deer. Now for me, there's no greater challenge than mule deer hunting. If you want to add just a little more challenge to it, maybe a lot more, try desert mule deer hunting. The desert is big country, and these deer spread out. They don't focus on food plots like whitetails or maybe a big green alfalfa field like mule deer up in the western United States. These mule deer, they focus on what they want to focus, and that's the big open country. They are where they are, and that's everywhere and anywhere, and you've got to put on the boot miles to find them. Desert mule deer, like any mule deer in open country, they look for shade, especially when it's hot. And there are very few days in New Mexico when it's not hot. So where does the shade come in the shape of? Heck, it can come in the form of yucca plants, creosote trees, even cholla, rock ledges, you name it. Those mule deer are looking for it. And when you start looking around in the desert, you find out that there are not only thousands, but millions of these hiding spots. You can see right here, it's right under this shade. So as the day, this spot's actually going to get better as the day goes on. Mm-hmm. Now on this hunt with Santa Fe Guiding Company, I hooked up with Bob King. We were seeing all sorts of critters. Quail, audads, mule deer, coyotes, even wild turkey. But the thing we were after were those desert mule deer. We just spotted a buck from up on top of the next ridge. He's too far to shoot and he's in a yucca, big yucca bush we think is where he bedded. So instead of risking a long cross canyon shot, we're going to go all the way around, get up on top where he's at. We start sliding up the ridge, looking, peeking, tiptoeing. The wind was in our favor and it was picking up. And that's great because this country is about as rock-strewn as any quarry I've ever been in. You cannot take a step without tripping over a rock. So it's a little bit noisy slipping up on any mule deer when they're bedded. We looked and looked, and right beside us, a deer stood. I mean, 15 yards away, but it was a fawn. So we backed out, didn't spook it because we didn't know how close we were to that big buck. We started getting on our hands and knees. That's how sure we were that this buck was close. Man, I hated it. It was just eating up my knees. I slid my gun around, and it just caught the edge of some leaves. I went, shh. The buck jumped up, and unlike most mule deer, he just cut out and never looked back. Then all of a sudden, another deer stood up, and I thought, maybe there's a beehive of them here. There could be a big one. I got up on the shooting sticks on that second buck, got on him, started looking him over. He just wasn't what I came to New Mexico for. He was a real young 3x3 with some kicker points. I put the gun up on him just to make sure. No way. It was a tough decision. Watch that buck. As pretty as he was just a young deer, probably no more than 3.5 years old, and he needed a few more years, and I still had a few more hours left in the hunt. Something might be pulled out in the last minute.
North American Hunter